Well, the word of God says for us to gather, and in fact, that's in the very name church. So the fact that we're called a church, it is implied there that we're assembling. We are a gathering. And I don't think that you can adequately be the church if you're not physically gathering together. I mean, this very idea that we can be a gathering online, that idea is 20 years old. I mean, it's not even a full generation of people yet that have lived with this idea that we can be a gathering of the church on the internet. That is completely foreign to the history of the church. The Greek word for church is ecclesia, and that word literally means a gathering or an assembly. And as we understand it, we are a people that have been gathered out of the world. So we've been set apart. Christ has called unto himself a people who are for his own possession, as it says in Titus 2:14, and we are zealous for his good works. So we've been called out from the rest of the people, just like the Israelites were called out of slavery in Egypt. We've been called out from this world and to live as kingdom priests unto God, even in the present age. That's in 1 Peter 2:9. So the very implications of being called a church is that we gather. And of course, we have the instruction that is in Hebrews chapter 10, that we might consider how to stir up one another to love and good works. This is Hebrews 10, verses 24 through 25. Not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. And so we do need to be together, and we should not fear government mandates. We should not fear even a virus that might claim us. Now, I think there's some wisdom and some prudence into maybe not meeting for a time, like maybe let's say for 3 weeks that we're meeting in our homes. There have been plagues at various times in church history in which people could not gather, or you know, wars or conflicts or things like that were going on. But then at the same time, there were other occasions in which the government did say you cannot meet, and we see a church that was zealous for Christ and would not submit to the government, but rather would submit to Christ. John Bunyan, like we don't think about this aspect of John Bunyan's imprisonment. We just know this guy who wrote this book, Pilgrim's Progress. If you know something about that book, then you know that he got the idea for writing the book while he was in prison. But seldom do we talk about why he went to prison. He went to prison because he was welcoming a church gathering into a home that was larger than the government said they were allowed to gather. The government had said the Anglican church that was there had to gather of a certain size. Well, it had to be within the Anglican church. It had to be under the banner of Anglicanism. You could not gather with members outside of your own family beyond, I think it was like 15. And John Bunyan has these rooms of people that are not members of his family, and there are dozens and dozens of people that are gathering together to pray and hear the word proclaimed. And Bunyan was not willing to submit to the rule of the government. And so that was why he was in prison. And he was told, if you'll stop meeting, we'll let you go. And he said, as soon as you let me out, I'm going right back to doing it again. And so they threw him in prison for years. And he was ordained to be the pastor of his church while he was in prison. So this is an example that we see throughout the history of the church. And that's the example that we need to follow. I understand in a time of plague and in a time of disaster or war or conflict or something like that, it may be difficult for us to gather, but we should be looking toward how we can get together, not looking for reasons for like, well, let's not meet this Sunday, let's do it this way instead, but rather the ambition, the desire should always be for gathering together. Martin Lloyd-Jones, the great preacher of London, back at the beginning of the 20th century, while bombs were dropping in the middle of World War II, he was still gathering his church together. And of course, for them, it was like, you could be at home and a bomb could drop on your house. So what difference does it make whether we're at home and we die or we come to church and we die? And I kind of view a virus the same way. I could catch it at home or I could catch it at church. I would rather be with the people of God, worshiping God. So that should be our desire and our ambition.